When you host generative AI on your own computer instead of a web app, you break free of all the rules. Hello, my name is Alexis Mercedes. I am the project manager of Frexel Labs. We are an app development team that is passionate about improving the user experience of cutting-edge software. In this video, I'm going to show you Stable Diffusion, the locally hosted generative AI tool. Whether you've seen demos before or have never heard of it, I've got you covered. Documenting my own experience, I'll provide a step-by-step tutorial on how to set it up, demo the usage and explore use cases, as well as provide a UX analysis. Here's what happened. To figure this out, I sought out help from my favorite professor, YouTube herself, and I leaned heavily on a friend who's been using Stable Diffusion for a few months now. Python setup. Begin by downloading Python 3.10.6 from the official python.org website. Note that you don't actually have to work directly with Python. It operates in the background, facilitating processes for you. Make sure to check the box Add Python to Path during the installation process. Git Installation. Proceed by downloading and installing Git. During installation, just keep all of the default settings. They set that part up for you nicely. Understanding Automatic 1111. Automatic 1111 is a browser interface built upon the Gradio library. When you use Stable Diffusion, you host the program on your personal computer and then interact with it in a web browser. Automatic 1111 is the browser interface you'll use to do so. Now that you've set up your environment, open the command prompt and navigate to the user folder or wherever you want to save the file. Clone the repository with the following command. Yes, of course, I'll have that in the description box below. That's going to take several minutes. Once that's done, navigate back to the Automatic 1111 folder. All right, this next chunk is optional. Before running it, you might want to make this modification and enable Xformers. This will accelerate image generation if you have an NVIDIA GPU. Mine's got a little NVIDIA sticker on it, so I know that's the one. It takes a little bit more coding, but don't worry, we've got this. In that same folder, you will find a file called webui-user.bat. Open that in a text editor of your choice. On the line with command line _args equal, type to add --xformers. Then save and close the text editor. Now you're ready to run the WebUI user file .bat. It will generate a local host URL. This URL acts as an interface for Stable Diffusion. This one's another long waiting time, perhaps another 20 minutes. It really just depends on your computer. So now you go back to the directory and launch webui-user.bat. Take that URL from the WebUI window and paste it into the browser of your choice. And that's it. Stable Diffusion is up and running. Here's what it can do. Demonstration. All right, so the basic function is text to image. The first thing I always try with text to image AI is Hello Kitty high heels.
Back in November of 2022, I did a YouTube video reviewing every single text to image generative app available on mobile. As you can see, there is varying results. I tried whenever possible to get it to look like a photograph, but it did better with illustrations than photographs. I like this one a lot. This one just barely has a shoe in it. Do you see the shoe? Censorship was a big deal. Some of them wouldn't allow for the IP to exist, and others thought that high heels, by definition, were something inappropriate. I had to take high heels out in order for it to create this one at all. It was funny to me that high heels were against community standards. High heels being inherently lewd was further confirmed with this app that didn't show me any shoes at all, but did indicate that this person is a stripper.
Here's how Stable Diffusion compared to the other guys. The quality is pretty similar. It's great at styles like synthwave or mimicking certain artists, but when it comes to creating realistic images, it's very hit or miss. Here I asked it to depict a smartphone in a hallway of teal stained glass windows.
I think that the tile here is telling us that it is a hallway, and I definitely see something that indicates a smartphone. Here we get an even better rendition of a smartphone, and I get both a hallway vibe as well as a stained glass vibe. Here we get a rad MC Escher glass window inside of the smartphone, which is inside of the hallway. I love this one. This image, I can honestly say, captures all of the elements that I asked it to create. Two more outputs for you. I think this one gets a lot closer to the idea of stained glass, and this one looks like a stained glass hallway, so it's the winner.
It also does image to image, which includes both in painting, that's really special, and sketch in painting. I don't know any other programs doing that.
Here is your demo of image to image. I asked it to create yellow rabbits on a hill, and this is what I got. My favorite of the bunch is great, but not quite right. No problem, just send to image to image. I add the word green before hill in order to improve the prompt, and it creates the best thing it can based on not only my words, but also the image I gave it as a reference point. Now we get these results. The grass might have been greener if I hadn't given it an image with brown grass to start with. I'll use the original rabbit image to demo in painting. Here the problem I'm trying to solve is that one of my rabbits is missing an ear. To remedy this, I'm going to cover that rabbit up and have it replace the rabbit with a new one. And voila, it knows what I'm talking about as long as I put the right settings in. In Paint Sketch is a little different. You actually get to define colors, and rather than replacing the area that you cover, you actually are adding your drawing to the input. So I can add a yellow ear and get it to generate a yellow ear using In Paint Sketch. By contrast, In Paint will replace the area I've drawn on with the prompt. Rather than adding the ear to the image, it's trying to create all of yellow rabbit ear in that singular place. So we get some funny results like this. In summary, In Painting allows you to replace, and In Paint Sketch allows you to add your own drawings. And it interprets from there. It's actually really amazing. Both of the tools are. One more quick example. Here I asked for an illustration of spaghetti with 3 boogers that came alive. This was a really cool output from that. The one thing I wanted to change is that it didn't have a plate, like the spaghetti is kind of floating in space. I wanted it to have a nice blue ceramic plate to sit on. Using In Painting, bam, now I've got a plate. I think that worked really well, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
It also does upscaling, which is a fairly unique feature. Do you have any image files that are not quite big enough for what you need it to do? Boom, upscaler. That could be a good side hustle. There's also a background remover, which is becoming a pretty common feature, but this one works a lot better than the free ones we've found online. Animations. Now that's a little more unique. That is possible inside of Stable Diffusion using an extension, Deforum. I'll link the YouTube instructions on how to add that extension as well. You can also train your own models with another extension called Dream Booth. This will allow you to create custom parameters so that you can customize or categorize the types of outputs that you want. UX analysis. All right, first of all, it's not a standalone app that you can just download from the App Store. That is challenging. That is not excellent user experience. The main advantage I see is ownership. You don't have to follow community standards because there's no community that's hosting. Runway ML, a web app that I use very heavily in my day-to-day work, said that my query was against guidelines when I asked it to depict a teacher using a giant touchscreen. I was trying to get like education of the future, you know? But Stable Diffusion won't stop anything. It's more powerful and more dangerous. What would make it better is built-in instructions. I see the future of a Stable Diffusion where you can hover over the names of certain features and have an explanation of it pop up. You know, the classic cursor hover, reveal more information thing. Ownership also means infinite extensions. Because Stable Diffusion is open source, it's incredibly nimble. Users are collectively making new things all of the time. The fact that none of it is for profit drastically speeds up in development. Upgrades, upgrades, upgrades. So it's not technically a Web3 app, but it has the same values and principles. Decentralization. In my experience, the more powerful an application becomes, the harder it is to learn how to use it. Through excellent user experience design, creators of programs such as these can deliver tools that are both powerful and intuitive. That's always the goal. Fractal Labs is devoted to building apps with exquisite design. Every week we're learning new ways to incorporate machine learning and large language models, aka AI. Our goal is to make sure that it isn't clunky and it keeps your information safe.
I'm still wondering how government policies are going to shift in the next few months regarding artificial intelligence. This type of AI is better named large language model and isn't what we usually think of in terms of self-aware artificial intelligence. The White House is currently on task to create guidance and policies. The goal is to set protocols for federal departments on AI system deployment. We wrote a blog article on this exact topic, and I'll leave a link to that in the description as well.
See you some other Tuesday for more reviews of UX design for cutting edge software. Goodbye.